What does power actually do to a human brain? Because for 45 years, we have been watching the same experiment play out. In public, on camera, in real time. It is 1980, Donald Trump is 34. Silver Mercedes, sharp Italian suits. His name just went on the side of a Manhattan skyscraper for the first time. Journalist Rona Barrett asks him directly, "Do you ever worry about failure?" He pauses and says yes. That fear of failure is one of the things that drives him most. Now it is 2025. Trump is 78, just won his second term. He moves between the Mar-a-Lago golf course, the gilded dining room, and rooms full of people who treat his arrival like a coronation. He does not speak about fearing failure anymore. In his telling, he has never failed. Every loss was secretly a win. Every critic was secretly jealous. Same person, 45 years apart. Something happened in between. And what happened is not a political story. It is a story about what environments do to brains, any brain, when the conditions are right. The Reframe. This video is not a verdict on Trump. It is about what happens to any human brain when one very specific thing changes in its environment. Trump is the most documented psychological case study in modern history. 5 decades of interviews, depositions, rallies, unguarded moments. Once you see the mechanism in him, you will not unsee it anywhere else. Section 1. The Young Brain Watch. The 1980 interviews, not for what Trump says, for how he says it. He listens before answering, acknowledges uncertainty, occasionally laughs at himself. Psychologists call this an integrated self-concept, a mind that holds both confidence and the awareness of limitations simultaneously. The brain that can say, "I'm afraid of failure," is a brain reality can still reach. Think about the youngest adult version of yourself, before the job title hardened into identity, before changing your mind started to feel like betraying it. That discomfort you were eager to move past, that was a brain still asking questions, still teachable. What closed it down? Section 2. What the environment builds. In 2015, linguists at Carnegie Mellon analyzed Trump's speech across 4 decades. What they found was a brain that had changed its language almost completely. In 1980, he used words like perhaps, possibly, and I could be wrong. He qualified. He left room to be wrong. By 2015, that language had almost entirely disappeared, replaced by greatest, worst, perfect, and total disaster. No uncertainty, only absolutes. They controlled for age. This was not decline. Psychologist Robert Millman called it acquired situational narcissism. Narcissistic traits produced not by childhood, but by years inside an environment that never says no. One that removes every source of friction between you and the belief that you are exceptional. The brain becomes what it is consistently exposed to. Think about the relationship where your version of events always prevailed. The feed so precisely curated that a challenging idea now feels like an intrusion rather than an invitation. None of us are immune. The only variable is intensity of exposure. Section 3. The Echo Chamber. In 1991, Trump's Atlantic City casinos collapsed. The debt ran into the billions. The failure was public and severe. His immediate response was to call it a strategic masterstroke, proof of his genius. He said he had seen it coming all along. This is not spin. This is the narcissistic defense at full function. Ross and Anderson found that beliefs which are consistently validated become almost impermeable to contradiction. Push harder and they hold tighter. The echo chamber does not feel like an echo chamber from the inside. It feels like finally being understood. Section 4. The Grandiosity Ratchet. Here is the mechanism nobody names. Once the brain adapts to a certain level of validation, each claim needs a bigger claim to follow it. The baseline shifts, what produced significance before no longer does. Watch Trump's language across the decades. Buildings go from best in New York to best in the world to greatest ever built. His presidency goes from very successful to greatest in American history to direct quote 2024, potentially the greatest in the history of any country anywhere. No new evidence produced those upgrades. The ratchet turned because it needed to, and because the environment had been cleared of anyone willing to name the distance between the claim and reality, nothing stopped it. Section 5. The Mirror Dynamic. Research on charismatic leadership finds the most devotion is not generated by the most competent leaders, but by the ones who most precisely mirror the psychological needs of their followers. At a 2016 rally, a woman said, "He says what the rest of us are thinking, but we're told we couldn't say." The brain, reflected back at itself with that precision, does not experience manipulation. It experiences recognition. The profound relief of finally being seen. The mirror is the most seductive force the social brain produces. From the inside, it feels indistinguishable from love. The realization. The two Trumps are not a mystery. Same brain. Two environments. One that still contained people willing to tell him the truth. One that had been, decade by decade, cleared of all of them. Not through conspiracy, but through the simple process by which powerful people stop hearing what they do not want to hear, because the people around them learn that saying it has costs. He did not choose this. The brain does not decide to become unreachable. It responds to what the environment provides, as any brain would, as yours has been. The experiences between 8 and 25 did not just produce memories, they produced defaults, reflexes, automatic responses that arrive before thought can intervene. You did not choose that environment any more than he chose his. Every brain needs friction to stay honest. The people who disagree with you because they have seen something you have not. The feedback you did not ask for that turned out to be right. The mirror that shows something other than what you came to see. Remove that friction and the brain loses contact. Trump is not a warning about a particular politics. He is the most extreme, most documented version of a process available to any brain. The young man in the silver Mercedes who admitted he was afraid of failure, that brain was still reachable. The question was never really about his. It is whether yours still is.